So I was remiss in the previous video. I wanted to also add a couple Jewish mantras that can be used in the practice of mystical Judaism. And so these are, again, very similar than the names of God, or phrases invoking God. So if your connection to the Absolute is inspired most deeply by the God of the Old Testament, the God of Israel, then these can be very meaningful, and this can be a way to connect to that same inner ground. And the first one is actually very universal, which is that the name for God, the God of the Old Testament, is literally I am, or I am. And so if that is what God calls himself, then that is the name that we can use and just repeat this. I am. I am. And the I am of I am before I am anything else. Just the pure, that is God, the pure I am. The pristine being prior to being anything or doing anything. Just the amness. The I am that was here 5 minutes ago, the I am that was here 3 days ago, 2 years ago, before our lifetime, thousands of years ago, the I am that is eternal, the ground of being itself. And so you can bring this into the heart and simply repeat, I am, that I am that. I am that ground of being. I am. And just focus on that I amness prior to anything else. So, and this is another name for this God is Yahweh, as I'm sure you've heard. Yahweh or Yehovah. And so again, we can use these as well. We can repeat the name Yahweh in the heart. We can repeat the name Jehovah in the Yehovah is better in the heart. And again, with this sense of I amness, this God of the Old Testament is very primal, very unadorned. And so these mantras are all about that unadorned primordial being. And then the next one from the Jewish tradition is the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And that is a beautiful invocation that, again, we can actually chant that one. And all of these mantras we can chant aloud, whether it's Om Mani Padme Hum or Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, and so on. And we can fall into this kind of cadence, and it can clear our minds, and it can prepare our bodies. And the healing power of chant is really incredible. So on another note, I just encourage doing as much chant as possible, and it can be a really nice precursor to meditation. So really chanting your heart out, chanting your mind out, and then dropping into meditation. So Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And you can look at the English translation of that, and you can also use the English and just call into the heart to this aspect of God, this form of God. Okay, so that is a brief little snippet of some Jewish mantras, and also we've seen that some of them are very universal, so they can be used by anyone if your heart is drawn to that. And again, the main point, as we talked about before, is that we want to invoke the form of God, or the symbols of God that most deeply, or the divine or the sublime, that most deeply inspire our hearts, because that will allow for the deepest connection. And we all have a disposition for a specific form of the divine. So we have to go on that journey of discovery, figuring out what our version is and what calls to our heart most deeply, and then we can develop that relationship and receive wonderful blessings from that practice. Okay, so enjoy this practice.